What if death is nothing but a grand illusion? A secret Albert Einstein uncovered before his final breath. Spring 1954, Princeton, New Jersey. The genius with wild white hair hid a theory so shocking it was locked in a dusty safe for over 70 years. This unspoken truth claims your soul never dies, defying everything science once believed. Can you face a mystery that could change your life? Stay with me for the next 25 minutes, and we'll dive into the unknown together. It was a quiet spring morning in 2023 when a researcher at the Institute for Advanced Study stumbled upon an old safe, its lock rusted shut, hidden beneath a pile of forgotten files. Inside, wrapped in faded leather, lay 18 pages of handwritten notes in Gabelsberger shorthand, an obsolete script from the mid-20th century. Pinned to the first page was a name: Kurt Gödel, Einstein's closest confidant during his final years. The two had walked the Institute's paths daily, debating logic, time, and the mysteries of existence. But this document wasn't about mathematics. It was a confession, a theory so radical it was never meant to see the light of day. The story begins in April 1954, just 12 months before Einstein's death at 76. A young, unnamed journalist, unaffiliated with any major publication, sat across from the aging physicist in his modest office. The room was dim, the only sound the faint rustle of leaves outside. Einstein, his eyes weary yet piercing, agreed to speak freely, perhaps sensing his time was short. The first line of the transcript reads like a warning: "These words may change humanity or destroy it." The journalist's initial question was simple. "Professor Einstein, do you believe in life after death?" A long pause followed, broken only by the creak of his chair as he turned to the window. He smiled, not as a scientist, but as a man at peace with something vast. "To believe," he said softly, "is not the right word. At my age, I prefer to know." The journalist, expecting a dismissal, leaned forward, puzzled. Einstein continued, his voice steady. "Science, as the world knows it, sees only what it can measure. It's blind to what lies beyond. What I'm about to share must remain hidden until humanity is ready." This wasn't the Einstein of EMC2 or relativity. This was a seeker, peering into the abyss of existence, and what he revealed would challenge the very foundation of life and death as we know it. The air in that room grew heavy as Einstein leaned closer, his words deliberate. "Death," he began, "is not what you think. It's an illusion, a trick of perception." The journalist scribbled furiously, his pen trembling. Einstein explained that consciousness, the essence of who we are, doesn't originate in the brain. The brain is merely a receiver, he said, like a radio tuning into a signal that's always there, a field that spans the universe. He paused, gazing out at the swaying trees, then added, "When the radio breaks, the broadcast doesn't stop." This idea wasn't born from faith, but from his lifelong pursuit of a unified field theory, a quest to connect matter, energy, and something more. Beyond the atom, he discovered, lies not more matter, but vibration energy humming in the vacuum of space. And beyond that vibration mind, he pointed to the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen paradox, the cornerstone of quantum entanglement, where particles remain linked across vast distances. If particles can connect beyond space, he mused, why not consciousness? Why not the soul? The journalist's breath caught. This wasn't speculation, it was a pattern he'd traced through mathematics. Einstein likened the soul to a wave on the ocean. As long as there's wind, you see the wave, he said. But when the wind stops, the water doesn't vanish. The wave dissolves, yet its energy returns to the sea. For him, the body was the temporary form, the vessel. and death was simply the moment the vessel shattered, releasing the wave back into a cosmic ocean of awareness. This wasn't poetry, it was physics, reimagined. He believed this ocean, this field, held every thought, every emotion, every act, preserved like echoes in an eternal library. The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. The journalist, a young man in his 20s, had come expecting a lecture on relativity, not a revelation about eternity. Einstein's eyes softened as he continued. I've seen this in the patterns of time and space. Consciousness isn't created, it's accessed. He spoke of near-death experiences like those of patients who, with flatlined brains, described floating above their bodies, hearing surgeons' conversations. Science calls it a hallucination, he said. But what if it's the truth breaking through? This theory, buried for decades, wasn't just a personal musing. It was a challenge to the scientific community that had revered him, a community that feared losing control if such ideas spread. Einstein knew the risk his reputation, his legacy, but he spoke anyway, driven by a quiet urgency. The world isn't ready, he admitted, but the time is coming. And with that, the foundation of his unspoken theory began to unfold, promising to reshape our understanding of life, death, and what lies beyond. As the conversation deepened, Einstein revealed how his unfinished work on the unified field theory had led him down an unexpected path. I started with matter and energy, he said, his voice steady, but I ended with mind. The journalist, now fully engrossed, asked how a physicist could speak of the soul. Einstein's response was firm, yet gentle. Physics isn't just about equations, it's about patterns, and the pattern I've seen suggests consciousness is the foundation, not a byproduct. He drew on quantum mechanics, where particles shift behavior when observed, as if reality waits for a witness. This isn't a flaw, he insisted. It's a clue. The universe exists because someone perceives it. He referenced the conservation of energy, a principle he'd helped establish, arguing that if energy transforms but never vanishes, then consciousness, as a form of energy, must do the same. When the body dies, he explained, it's not the end. It's a shift in frequency, like turning off a radio while the station keeps playing. The journalist scribbled notes, his mind racing. Einstein continued, weaving in personal anecdotes. In 1948, he recalled, a woman approached me after a lecture, her eyes red from tears. She'd lost her son and asked if he still existed. I told her, energy doesn't die, it changes form. Your son's essence lives on, unseen. That moment, he said, planted a seed. He began to see life as a flashlight when the batteries fade. The light dims, but the current returns to its source. This source, Einstein called the cosmic ocean, a vast field of perception where all consciousness merges. He spoke of déjà vu, those fleeting moments of recognition, as echoes from this ocean brushing against our current lives. Intuition isn't magic, he said. It's resonance, a memory from the field. The journalist, a skeptic at first, felt a chill. Could this explain the strange dreams he'd had, glimpses of places he'd never been? Einstein's theory grew bolder. He suggested that this field, which some ancient traditions call the Akashic Records, holds every experience, love, pain, courage encoded in vibration. Nothing is lost, he whispered. It's all preserved, waiting to be remembered. He cited cases of children as young as 3, recalling past lives with uncanny detail, a boy in Lebanon naming his murderer, a girl in Ohio describing a 19th century home. Skeptics called it coincidence, but Einstein saw a pattern, a thread connecting lives across time. The room grew quiet again, the weight of his words pressing down. The journalist realized this wasn't just theory, it was a map, a guide to something beyond the physical world. Einstein's eyes gleamed with a mix of exhaustion and excitement. "I've spent my life chasing truth," he said. "And this truth leads beyond equations, into the heart of what we are." With that, he turned to the window, as if seeing something the younger man couldn't, and the story of his unspoken theory began to take shape. The journalist, now captivated, pressed further. "If death is an illusion," he asked, "what happens when we cross that line?" Einstein's gaze softened, and he shared a story from his own life. "When my father died in 1902, he began, I was just 23. The loss haunted me, a shadow I couldn't shake. But one night, in a dream, I heard his voice clear as day saying, 'I'm still here, in the light.' It wasn't grief playing tricks. It was a signal. This experience," he said, fueled his curiosity. He started exploring beyond physics, delving into the works of mystics and philosophers. "I found echoes of this in ancient texts," he noted. "The Hindus spoke of Atman, the individual soul merging with Brahman, the universal consciousness. It mirrored what I saw in my equations." He believed the brain acted as a filter, shaping consciousness into the narrow focus we call self, and death was the moment that filter dissolved, revealing the broader field. To illustrate, Einstein recounted a case that had recently reached him. In 1952, he said, "A man in Ohio, John Carter, flatlined during surgery. His brain showed no activity, yet he described watching doctors from above, hearing them argue about his pulse. When he awoke, he recited their exact words verified later. How can a dead brain do that?" The journalist nodded, his skepticism fading. Einstein added, "This isn't fantasy. It's evidence that consciousness exists beyond the body." The theory took a personal turn when Einstein spoke of a woman he'd met years earlier. In 1949, he recalled, "A mother came to me, devastated by her daughter's death. She asked if her child's soul lingered. I told her, 'Energy transforms, not vanishes. Your daughter's essence is in the field, waiting to reconnect.'" That encounter, he said, deepened his resolve to uncover this truth, even if it meant defying his peers. This personal connection resonated with the journalist, who admitted to feeling a strange pull toward the idea. Einstein smiled. "You're not alone," he said. "Many sense this, a memory buried deep. It's why we dream of places we've never seen, feel emotions we can't explain." He suggested that intuition, those gut feelings, might be fragments of the cosmic ocean seeping through the filter of the mind. The room grew warm as the afternoon sun filtered in, casting long shadows. Einstein's voice grew quieter, almost reverent. "I've spent decades tracing this pattern," he confessed. "From relativity to quantum entanglement, it all points to one thing: we are part of something eternal." The journalist felt a shift, a realization that this wasn't just a theory, it was a lifeline, a promise that death wasn't the end but a return to something vast and familiar. Einstein's eyes sparkled as he delved deeper into his vision. "This field," he said, "I call it the cosmic ocean, a presence, not a place where all consciousness flows together." The journalist leaned in, intrigued. Einstein explained that this ocean wasn't a distant realm, but a layer of reality we're always immersed in, like fish unaware of the water around them. "Death," he continued, "is when the wave rejoins the sea, losing its form but not its essence." He drew on his work with quantum entanglement, where particles remain linked across miles, responding instantly to each other. If matter can do this, he argued, why not consciousness? Why not the soul? He believed this entanglement extended to every life, every moment, preserved in what ancient mystics called the Akashic records, a vibrational library holding every thought, every act. Nothing is lost, he insisted. It's all encoded, waiting to be accessed. To prove his point, Einstein shared a story that had haunted him. In 1953, he said, a child in California, just 4 years old, spoke of a past life as a pilot in World War II. She described crashing her plane into the Pacific, giving coordinates that matched a known wreck. Her parents were baffled. How could a toddler know? This skeptics called it imagination, but Einstein saw it as a memory echo, a wave returning from the ocean. These children, he added, are proof that consciousness carries forward. The journalist, now fully invested, asked about the implications. Einstein's response was profound. If death is an illusion, then life is a choice, a chance to shape what returns to the field. He suggested that every act of kindness, every moment of courage, ripples outward, influencing not just this life, but the next. Déjà vu, he said, is a glimpse of that ripple, a moment when the past brushes against the present. This idea wasn't new to Einstein. He'd long been fascinated by music, playing his violin to Mozart as a way to tap into this universal harmony. Melody, he mused, reveals what equations can't, a pattern of existence. He believed this pattern explained why some feel an unexplainable connection to others, a sense of having met before. It's the ocean whispering, he said, reminding us we're never truly apart. The afternoon sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the room. The journalist felt a strange warmth, as if the words were stirring something deep within. Einstein noticed and nodded. You feel it, don't you? He asked. That's the field, calling you to remember. He warned that this truth was dangerous, not because it was false, but because it freed people from fear, a fear that powers control. The world isn't ready, he admitted, but the time is near. The journalist, now wide-eyed, pressed Einstein further. If consciousness survives, he asked, what happens next? Do we just float in this ocean? Einstein's expression grew thoughtful. Not quite, he replied. There's a choice. The soul can rest, merge with the field, or return to learn, to love, to grow. This idea of rebirth, he said, wasn't a law but a conscious decision, a freedom hidden within the cycle of life. He explained that this choice stemmed from the soul's evolution. Life on earth, he said, is a school, not a punishment. Pain, loss, struggle, they're the lessons that shape us. He likened it to pressure in a star's core, too little, and it fades, too much, and it collapses. But in balance, it creates light. Suffering breaks the illusions, he added, shattering the false self so the real one can emerge. The journalist nodded, recalling his own hardships, a failed marriage, a parent's passing, and wondered if there was purpose in them. Einstein shared a letter he'd written in 1950 to a friend. I asked myself, he said, if consciousness chooses to return, might it seek challenge over comfort, struggle over stillness? He believed the soul might select a life of hardship to deepen its wisdom, to feel the pain it once caused others. It's not cruelty, he clarified. It's care, a chance to heal through experience. He cited a case from 1951, a woman in New York who, after years of guilt over a sibling's death, dreamed of being that sibling, forgiving herself in the dream. This concept aligned with spiritual traditions Einstein had studied. In Buddhism, he noted, suffering is the first noble truth, a path to enlightenment. In Christianity, it's the road to grace. Modern psychology, he added, was beginning to agree trauma could transform into empathy, grief into strength. Behind every pain, he said, is a message. You are more than this moment, more than this loss. The journalist felt a lump in his throat. So, we come back to suffer? He asked. Einstein shook his head. Not to suffer, but to learn. The soul chooses its path, guided by the field's memory. He suggested that some souls, like his, might return to teach, while others rest, becoming guides for those still in form. It's a spiral, he said, not a trap, a refinement of light. The room grew warmer as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows. The journalist sensed a shift, a quiet hope. Einstein's voice softened. I've seen this in the equations, in the lives around me. We're not victims of fate, we're co-creators. This idea of free will, of choosing rebirth, turned the conversation from a theory into a personal invitation, one that would linger long after the interview ended. As the afternoon waned, Einstein's tone grew serious. This truth, he said, is why it was hidden. It's too simple, and that makes it dangerous. The journalist frowned, unsure. Einstein explained, if people knew death is an illusion, they'd lose their fear, the fear that keeps them obedient. He saw this fear as the foundation of control, governments relying on it to maintain order, religions using it to enforce guilt, corporations exploiting it to sell security. He recounted the aftermath of his atomic bomb involvement, his regret as Hiroshima and Nagasaki burned. Science turned from discovery to destruction, he said, his voice heavy. We split the atom, connected the globe with technology, yet wisdom lagged behind. The world grew noisier, and the quiet truths about the soul, about oneness, were buried. He called it the age of forgetting, a time when sacred knowledge was reduced to superstition or ignored entirely. The journalist nodded, thinking of the Cold War tensions in 1954. Einstein continued, those in power fear awakening. An awakened soul doesn't bow, it walks, speaks, creates, heals. If enough remember, the world can't stay the same. He believed this truth had whispered through history, in ancient texts, in the teachings of sages, in the moments before sleep when something stirs within. It's not in books, he said. It's in you. To illustrate, he shared a memory from 1947. A student asked me about God. He recalled, I told him, God isn't a bearded man on a cloud. God is the pattern, the field of awareness we all share. The room went silent, some nodded, others walked away. That moment, he said, showed the resistance to this idea. Truth is inconvenient, he added. It frees people from needing to be saved or controlled. The journalist felt a chill, realizing the stakes. Einstein warned that revealing this too soon could lead to misuse, twisted into power, sold as a commodity, weaponized against the vulnerable. It must come quietly, he said, one heart at a time. He believed every person carried a memory of wholeness, a faint knowing that we're more than our bodies. It's an optical delusion of consciousness. He quoted from a past letter, a prison of separation we must break free from. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue through the window. The journalist sensed the weight of this responsibility. Einstein's eyes met his. The real enemy isn't death, he said. It's ignorance, the refusal to look. This wasn't just a theory anymore. It was a call to action, a challenge to see beyond the fear that had shaped their world. And with that, the conversation turned to what this awakening might mean for each of them. The golden light faded as Einstein leaned back, his voice a whisper. When the journalist asked, "What survives after death?" I looked out at the dawn, he recalled. The first light touched the sky, soft and gold, like a promise, I told him, not the name, not the face, not the body. What survives is what was real, the love you gave, the truth you lived, the questions you dared to ask. He likened the soul to a flame, its shape shifting through lives, but its heat enduring. You won't remember every detail, he said, but the wisdom stays. The frequency rises, the pattern refines. Life, he believed, was a spiral, not a straight line or a trap, but a journey of growth. At the end of each life, he explained, the soul chooses rest in the field, merge with the guides, or return to learn and love again. This choice, he emphasized, was the greatest law of free will. Some return to heal old wounds, he said, to forgive what was once too heavy. Others stay, becoming whispers of light for those still here. He spoke of a reunion with one's own light, a moment of clarity where you see yourself not as others judged you, but as you truly were, the bravery, the kindness, the love chosen over fear. The journalist, moved, asked about the pain of life. Einstein's face softened. I lost my father young, a child to illness, lived through wars that turned science to ruin. But I learned pain isn't cruelty, it's care. It's the pressure that forges light, like a star's core. He believed Earth was a school, where struggles awaken the soul, and death a threshold to remember that purpose. As the room darkened, Einstein offered a final gift. To those who've cried without knowing why, dreamed of places never seen, felt a pull to something more, you're not imagining it. You're remembering. The universe is alive, aware, and so are you. He warned, if this truth spreads too fast, it'll be twisted. Let it come quietly, one awakening at a time. The interview ended with a question. How would you live, Einstein whispered, if you knew every thought, every act echoed into eternity? He rose slowly, the dawn light framing him. Live as if the soul is watching, he said, because it is. The pages were sealed, hidden until now. You're not alone. Your soul is part of an eternal light, connected to those you love. Death is a return home. Live with awareness, spread love, for every act ripples forever. If this touched you, comment light to share your feelings. Share with someone seeking answers. Now, let's meditate together. Close your eyes. Breathe deep. Imagine a golden light from your heart spreading out. Feel the connection to your soul, the universe. In, out. Hold for 30 seconds. Open your eyes. Carry that light forward. Comment light if you felt it. Share with someone awakening. Subscribe for more soul mysteries.